Unshelling Medicine podcast. Healthcare in the language we understand.
Hello, welcome to our episode today. I happen to have a colleague today, and I'm very excited for this conversation. So I have Angel Altman with us today, and Angel made time to talk about things that I know will resonate with a lot of people, and it will also be informative and educational. So Angel is the founder of Tea of Life Apothecary. You've never heard that word. She's going to explain what that means, right? So it's always a learning opportunity with us, a learning moment. So thank you for being here. And without further ado, hi, Angel. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. So, Angel, Tea of Life Apothecary. So, what does that mean? What is that? For people that are wondering, okay, I've never heard that. What do you do? What does she do? What can I expect of Tea of Life?
So many years ago, we would go to the local apothecary or the local druggist, and they would a lot of times offer herbal remedies and things like that at home. A lot of it was because they knew your whole family. They knew everything. It was usually one or two people in town, and they knew everyone. And so that's sort of the goal, is to kind of get back to that natural holistic approach. Tea is just a really easy way to introduce that in. It's microdosing, so you don't have to worry about a lot of side effects or it interacting with a lot of things. It's just something gentle that the body tolerates very well. And so I just felt like so many people are struggling with, where do I go? What do I do? Tea's just a super easy way to start that, kind of get acclimated to that, and then you can move into tinctures or herbal supplements, things like that, that are a little stronger and can do a little bit more work. But tea's just a great entry, and it allows me a little bit more leeway if you come in and you've got multiple issues or you're wanting to target one particular area. I can kind of help guide you as to what's going to be the best fit for you.
Great. So for people that are not tea drinkers, right, as like, I don't like tea, or, I'm a coffee girly, I'm a coffee man, or give me something stronger. What is the importance of drinking tea? Not just a tea, conventional tea that you can get from the store, or product, or herbal product, right? So
Correct.
if somebody is curious, like, what makes what you're offering different from what I can, walk into a store and get off a shelf?
So a lot of times when you go to like Walmart, Kroger, whatever it is you may purchase your tea at, you get a little bag and it looks like it has a powder in it. So a lot of times they grind those components down to where it's a really fine powder. So when you put that in that tea bag and you put it in your cup, you steep it for a few minutes, you get a nice little tea out of it. But when you go to re-steep it a second time, you usually can't do that because the powder doesn't hold enough component in it to give you a second and third dose. The beautiful thing about herbs is you're getting a larger component, which means you can pull out a bigger amount of the medicinal component, and you can re-steep that 2 to 3 times. So you're going to get medicinal value up to 2, sometimes even 3, 4, and 5 times, depending on whether it's a root, a bark, what particular component you're working with. So there is a lot more medicinal value in the actual herbal component versus the powder. Plus you can reuse those leaves multiple times.
So why would I want to go the herbal route? I mean, we have pharmacies, we have doctors, we have modern medicine, right? If somebody's coming to you, somebody's never tried anything natural, like, I don't know about this. This really sounds okay to me. Like, don't we already have this in, like, cleaned up bottles and pills? Right. So why herbal remedies? Why would it be important for people to include that in their lifestyle?
Well, it's not just herbal remedies. You also have to make lifestyle changes as well. You take medications every day to treat blood pressure, diabetes, different things like that, and they manage it, but they really don't treat it and cure it. You never hear of somebody taking blood pressure medicine for 6 weeks and now their blood pressure is cured and they're off that medicine.
Right.
Oh, or same thing with diabetic medications. They don't take it for 4 to 6 weeks. Oh, their diabetes goes away. Now they're better. What a lot happens a lot of times is they make lifestyle modifications. They cut out the processed sugars. They change their diet. They add in activity. They do these things, which makes the medications work better. And a lot of times they can sometimes cut those medications back or even get off of them. But there is that responsibility on themselves to do that. Same thing with herbal supplements and herbal teas. One of the best benefits, though, is there's very few side effects. So if I take something for blood pressure, a lot of times side effects can be a cough, a headache, dizziness, and they tell you, well, it takes 4 to 6 weeks to kind of acclimate to it. So just bear with it. A lot of times with herbal supplements and herbal teas, you don't get that adjustment period. Again, it's microdosing, so the body handles it very easy. It just sort of gently supports, it's not forcing anything. So it allows the body to kind of come back into that natural flow correctly. But on top of that, the side effects might be more positive benefits. Yes, it helps to support the liver and it gets the liver flowing better, but your skin clears up in the long run, or your constipation goes away instead of it causing these issues while you're taking it, as many medications do. A lot of times, this alleviates some of those other side effects that we experience with medications.
So, on the safety side of things, you have a practice that people come to you, right? And we also have to take into consideration the internet does exist, and most of these things do exist online stores and different places, right? So, on the safety side of things, should a person err on the side of caution when purchasing herbal products? You did talk about that there's little side effects, but there's some things that in a large amount can also cause serious side effects. So, what are the safety considerations a person should have when purchasing without actually having to talk to a person about their symptoms or what they're using the herbal remedies for?
That is a very good point. And a lot of people, they listen to TikTok, they listen to Instagram, they get all of their medical advice from influencers. But that's where the nursing background comes in because people hear a lot, for instance, St. John's wort. A
Mm,
lot of people hear about how great that is. But if you're already taking Zoloft, Effexor, something like that, and you come in and, oh, I'm going to start St. John's wort, that's going to help me, you're actually going to cause yourself trouble. So, yes, some herbs you have to be very careful if you're on medications or if you're somebody who is prone to a clotting issue or somebody
mhm.
who has maybe they're on an aspirin every day or even a blood thinner. You want to be careful taking something like nettle. Nettle helps to thin the blood, as does cayenne pepper. So, these are things you want to be careful with because they can potentiate and cause a problem. So it's always important that you do work with somebody who has some knowledge of the herbs and what they work with. But that's also where my nursing background comes in very beneficial because a lot of times my customers will come in, they'll bring their list of medications. We go through those meticulously because my goal is to make sure that we are supporting, not causing you any additional trouble. And less is always more. So many people, we want to get better faster. So we think, oh, well, if a cup of tea a day is beneficial, 4 cups, surely that'll do it, right? But no, less is always more. It is always progression, slow, steady, be consistent. Consistency is the key, not so much quantity.
Thank you. So you actually answered my next question because in the past we would have an apothecary in a community where the owner kind of like knew the family history, and understood what the need was. So how is your process with your patients? Yes, you talked about having to do a medication reconciliation, which basically is going through the medication list, the list of current medication. What else do you do to get to know the people coming to you for support? Right. So if I'm new to you, you don't know me. However, I've seen your business or I've seen testimonials. I'm like, I kind of like need support in this area. I'd like to work with Angel, and I reach out to you. What is that process like so that you, as a practitioner, You're making sure that you meet my needs. And also you're taking me along that journey because that's very important for me to understand how you're going to help me as well.
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, the very first question I ask people anytime somebody comes through the door, there are multiple studies on this. The very first question I ask on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 is the worst, 10 is the best. How much do you love yourself? Truly love yourself. How much do you value and love yourself in comparison to your spouse, your children, your parents, your coworkers, your best friend? That almost always tells me where you're at and what your likelihood of healing is. And there are multiple studies, 2 women, both very similar backgrounds, demographics, everything. They're both diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. One lives, one dies. Why does one live? Because she advocates and treats herself just as she would if she was trying to take care of her spouse, her children, her parents. She puts that same effort into caring for herself. She sets boundaries. She's very diligent in her own care, just like she would be taking care of someone else. The person who succumbs often is still worrying about everybody else. They're always putting other people first. They're always worried about everyone else. Oh, I'll take care of myself later until they get so far gone. And so that self-love is a huge component in your healing. And that's usually where I start. We can do a million things. You can do all the treatments, all the care, all the medicine. But if you don't love yourself and you're not taking as good a care of yourself as you are everyone else, then a lot of times you're the one who suffers for that. So that's usually where I start. That's the foundational for all of my treatments and help for anyone is that self-love, that foundational lane. Then we have to focus on setting new habits, setting new goals for ourselves. Some people, they want to do everything because they want to feel better, but their approach often is, oh, I'm going to do it all. Then they make one mistake, they get frustrated, they throw their hands up, they say, yeah, I can't do it. Or they get overwhelmed hearing everything and it just seems just too much. So simply, we start with one goal. This is your goal for the week. Accomplish this. We will take on the next goal. It's resetting those maybe maladaptive habits that we've had in the past that have not allowed us to succeed in our health. It's also helping to educate. You have to understand your responsibility in this and your accountability. Unfortunately, we've been taught as a society to hand over that to a doctor or to a hospital that has our best interest at heart, but they also have 3,000 to 5,000 other patients, and we only get 5 to 10 minutes in with them, and they're supposed to have all the answers for us. There is an accountability on our end. We have to start at the end of our fork. What are we eating every day? How much sugar do we take in? What are we watching on TV that puts us in a negative state emotionally? These are all the things that we have to consider. And we go through all of that as well while we're working on implementing teas, implementing tinctures, implementing small modalities, maybe a rebounder or simply a morning guided meditation to kind of help start resetting this healing foundation.
That's really important. So let's go back to the foundational thing you talked about. And I know we kind of like had about it in the beginning, like you have a lot of your plate. I'm sure you do too. So as women, okay, I'm glad you used the example with 2 women. As women, as caretakers, whether you have children of your own or not, you're taking care of your elderly parents, or you have a pet, whatever that is, right? So as a nurturers, caretakers, we have, I don't want to call it an innate ability because it's not innate for everybody. We have a nature assignment to kind of like care. And sometimes we put ourselves on the back burner and care for everybody else around us. So if a woman comes to you and in the questionnaire, you observe that her loving herself is less than ideal. How do you work through that with somebody to learn to value themselves or put themselves as a priority when with a society, the societal expectation is rapidly changing a little bit. Societal expectation is to be sacrificial. You have to sacrifice yourself to be a good mother, a good wife, a good daughter, a good sister, a good all of the things, right? So how do we walk through that?
Well, you're right. A lot of that is society has taught us that. The biggest thing is, and I work from a Bible base, so everything I do is biblical. Because when God looks at us, he doesn't look at your husband, your children, your parents and say they are more important than you. He looks at all of you and sees all of you equally. And when you look at your kids, you wouldn't want to see one of your children taking care of everybody else and neglecting themselves. You have 5 children and you're watching your kids grow up, and maybe this one child takes care of all their siblings and does everything for them, but slowly it's wearing on them and tearing them down. You're not going to be like, okay, that's just her. You're going to be like, honey, you've got to take care of yourself. You're important too. And so I really believe that's how God views us. And I believe that that's how he wants us to care for ourselves equally, not more. We're not on a pedestal. This isn't a self indulgence, but it's equal to those around us. If we need something, we should be allowed to take that time and care for ourselves. If we are overwhelmed or overworked, we should be okay to say, no, I can't do that, and not have to deal with making excuses or answering as to why we said no. Self care should not be something that we have to justify. It should be just as important for us as it is to take care of our children and our family. So often I think we lose sight of that. And I think sometimes a more personal element for me, sometimes we get something out of that because we perceive a need and we see somebody suffering and we feel their pain and we feel them hurting. And if I can ease that, I won't feel it. And so we also do that route too. So that we have to take that into consideration because sometimes we overwhelm ourselves, overwork ourselves, trying to take care of others because we perceive their pain instead of learning how to emotionally set those boundaries for ourselves as well.
Absolutely. So, in a culture where that sacrifice and basically running yourself into the ground is celebrated as the mark of a good daughter, the mark of a good wife, the mark of a good mother, how do you have somebody unlearn that? And at a point where it's critical. So, if somebody comes to you and they have a chronic disease, so whether it's lupus, whether it is high blood pressure, diabetes, any thyroid or endocrine related disorder that is just wreaking havoc on their bodies and they are actively seeking support. How do you work through all of that? Because there's a part that a lot of psychotherapy is required. You know, you talked about the work. So if you encounter something like that, somebody of a different culture that actually celebrates that sacrifice and not
Mhm.
valuing yourself as a mark of a medal of honor of some sort, how do you work through that? And have you encountered that in your practice?
I have not encountered it here. I have encountered it at a previous office that I worked at. I don't want to necessarily list where she was from. Their culture is to be very subservient and very self sacrificing for their family. There are still things you can do. There are still steps that you can take focusing on self love. You can still live within the boundaries that you choose to live within. Now, my question to her was, what changes do you want to make? This isn't forcing someone to step outside of what's comfortable to them. This is not forcing someone to take on my thoughts or my beliefs. The goal was to find out what her end results were within her realm of her culture and to help her meet those that way, to give her the most optimal outcome. And I am very honest with a lot of my customers. If I'm not fully aware of their religious backgrounds, their cultural backgrounds, I want to hear more. I do want to investigate that and research that and learn about that. Because again, this is not about telling someone to do it this way or my way or this specific way. This is about your way. What is best for you and helping you find that along your path.
Yeah, beautiful. So I have a nursing question that I'm going to reserve for later.
Okay.
What got you here? You went to school, you did the nursing thing, did traditional healthcare work. I'm sure something nagged at you. Most of us is usually things that affect us, that gets us into a path of, oh goodness, I I have found something and I have to help other people. So what was
Mhm.
that journey like for you to start this business to help people and support people on their healing journey?
Well, when I first started into nursing, I kind of shopped around to find out what was going to be my favorite place. And in my mind, it was going to be labor and delivery.
Mm,
That was my end goal. I wanted to get there. And I got there. I did it 9 months. And I said, I can't do this another day. And so I started shopping again. And now I'm, just really, searching because that was where I thought I was going to spend my career. And what I found was around 40, I found myself transition out of conventional nursing into a more functional holistic. And I'm
okay.
like, oh my gosh, this makes sense. I had asked for years, we would have women come in 300 pounds, diabetic, blood pressure issues, and they would have all these medications, and we would be adding another one on. And I would ask, what don't we find out why they have high blood pressure? And a lot of times I would be told, well, look at them. They're 300 pounds, diabetic, high blood pressure. Their mother was 300 pounds, diabetic, high blood pressure, their grandmother, and so on. And it still didn't make sense. And I would be told it's genetics. Well, when I got into the more functional route, I realized, well, genetics plays a part, but so do coping mechanisms, eating habits. We carry a lot of genetic stuff, and a lot of that can be emotional too. So, all of that plays a role in how our body responds. And whenever I started finding that there were root causes and ways to help people figure that out, it was like the light bulb came on. And it was, again, divinely orchestrated that I would end up where I was at because when I was 43, I was told that I had lupus. And my options were medications and deal with it. And the funny thing was, nobody in my family had this genetic autoimmune issue, this predisposition. I had no one in my family that was dealing with autoimmune. So it's not like I could look back and say, oh, it came from this or it came from that or this person or that person. And so I went back to the office I was working at. And that's when I really dove in for myself. And I changed my eating habits. I changed my supplements. I changed my lifestyle, what I watched on TV, what I saw on social media. I changed everything about my life. And in doing so, my symptoms just kept receding and just kept reducing. And they told me when I was initially diagnosed, as fast as things were progressing, that there was a likelihood by the time I was 50, I would require oxygen and maybe a wheelchair to get around. And I am now 50. I am nowhere near ready for an oxygen tank or a wheelchair. I am healthier now at my given age than I was in my 30s. And a lot of it is because I have made not only the lifestyle changes, but what I had to really do is I had to dive into that self love. And I even tried to keep a track of everything. I ended up writing a book about it. But that's one of the things in the very beginning. If you would have asked me how much I love myself, I would have easily told you, oh, a 4 or 5. But down deep, it was probably a negative 6 or 7. And what people don't realize is when we love ourselves at a negative state, we treat ourselves harshly. So a body with a harsh mind can't
Yeah.
thrive. And so if I have a 3 or 5 year old child and I'm constantly saying, you idiot, you are so stupid. Why did you do that? That child is going to grow up with so many issues. They're going to struggle. So what do you think your body does when you say those things to it over and over? When you're harsh, when you say awful things? That's one of the components of dealing with self-love is changing the way we speak to ourselves. If you scream at a child, they tighten up. And then we get into our 40s and 50s and we wonder why we're all tightened up and we hurt all the time. But we never take into account how we speak to ourselves and how that holds in our body. And so those are the reasons that this is so important. Medication doesn't teach you that. Conventional medicine doesn't teach you that. These are things that people really need to know. Again, it comes down to that accountability and that responsibility. And once they start implementing those things, there are so many other things in the holistic world that make sense then. And it just starts like that roller coaster. They go over the edge and then it's just, and they start noticing a huge improvement. And I've yet to take the first medication for any problems that I had in the past. I also prefer to say they diagnosed me. I won't say that I have. I believe that words hold a lot. And to say that I have something means that I take ownership of it. I choose not to have it.
Mhm.
So my verbiage is they diagnosed me. They told me I had because, it's not mine. I don't want to keep it.
I love it. Words are powerful. Words are powerful, and you speak things into existence, and whatever you claim become yours. So I don't hold you nothing against you for that one. To conventional medicine, modern medicine, or whatever you want to call it, is your practice complementary to it? Because there are people that may be listening to us talk, and they have a relationship with their doctors, with their practitioners, and they feel like, oh, I don't want to break up with my doctor. Oh, or my doctor has my best interest at heart. So would you say your practice is complementary to what somebody already has in place? And this follow-up question to that will be, how much do you encourage traditional modern medicine practitioners, or conventional modern medicine practitioners? How much do you encourage that kind of a collaboration with practitioner like yourself? How important is that collaboration? The reason I'm asking this question is that I have often found that in having a conversation further with a patient, whether it's during a home visit, discharge teaching, or planning, there's often that thing that comes up about a herbal remedy that wasn't mentioned, right? So that's why I'm asking that question. So how much do you encourage that cooperation between the two? And also, for anybody listening who doesn't want to break up with their doctor, is this complementary to treatments modalities?
Absolutely, it is. The goal is never to replace medical treatment, ever. This is simply something that you can do on your own to sort of supplement or support natural processes. This is not something, I wouldn't even call it treatment. I call it support. It's a
Mhm.
supportive measure to support natural body processes, to support the liver function, to support detox. And in many ways, it also helps support hydration because drinking tea tends to help hydrate the body as well. I do encourage people to strengthen their relationship with their doctor. And my biggest thing is there are some doctors or in my particular area that are very open to this type of thing. And I will encourage a lot of customers that come in, if they're trying to broach this subject with their physician and they're not getting anywhere, or they're getting shut down, or they're being told this is not good for them. If this is something they want to pursue, I always encourage them, well, maybe that's not the right doctor for you. Maybe look at this, call this physician, go speak with them, see if you align with them, see if you fit better with them. Because again, the goal is to find what is best for you and how you want to proceed. And a lot of times, pulling from my specific parents, they were taught not to question the doctor. The doctor had complete authority, so you did what the doctor said. And there are a lot of people that have that mindset and they don't realize they are in the driver's seat. They have the ability to check and shop around and find that doctor that really resonates with them and really connects with them. Because if you're just going to a doctor who listens and prescribes you a medication and then out the door he goes, that's okay if that's what you want. But if you go to that doctor who you start joking around with them and you can carry on a conversation and you really just have this connection and you find that, oh yeah, they have the similar mindset, similar likes and dislikes, you just connect with them better. Your quality of care actually goes up because your trust is more, your belief in them is more, and you're more likely to adhere to their recommendations, and they're more likely to tailor recommendations to how you want to be treated versus just simply, here's your prescription and out the door you go. So look at that patient doctor relationship as just that. It's a relationship. And over time, if you go to the same doctor long enough, it should become somewhat of a friendship. I mean, it should become more of a friendship. And if you really think about it, think of many years ago when you had the town doctor. He knew everyone. He knew everybody. He was the go-to for the town gossip because he knew everyone and everything about them. But that's how you want it to be with your doctor. You want him to know everything about you. That way, heaven forbid you end up in the ER or you end up in a bad state. He knows you so well, he's able to pull that out and he's going to know they want to go a more natural route. They want to go a more, holistic route. and they're going to implement that into your treatment as well. So I am a big advocate for finding the right doctor for you, finding the right doctor that allows you to have that relationship over time. And if you have a doctor who maybe isn't that open to holistic treatments, I'm also open to speaking with them if they want. My goal again is not to change anybody's mind. It's not to say, okay, you're doing it wrong. My goal is simply to say, this person is looking for a more natural route. These are the options. I would rather help them than for them to feel like they have to hide this from you.
The hiding is very harmful because thank goodness for good assessment skills. I've been able to find things out that would have been catastrophic with drug interaction. There's an experience I had that was about 2 years, 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. I went for an in-home infusion therapy. I was a patient who was receiving antibiotics at home. So 3 days prior, did our infusion and everything was fine. So with the infusion, we had to do labs before we do the infusion. Again, tourniquet, everything there went in. Her blood came out a little thinner than I was used to. So
Hmm?
I'm like, okay, cool, right? Fine, whatever. So, again, done, test tubes labeled, and hey, gauze tape. Hold it, right? And she held it in place. So as I'm packaging everything, I'm like, okay, this should be long enough. So I go to take off the gauze to put a band-aid so I can focus on preparing the
Hmm.
infusion. And I took the gauze off and blood. I'm like, wait, why are you not clotting? So,
Right.
and at this point, she's worried and I have to be calm because she's panicking at this point. Like, why? Why am I not, like, why is it still bleeding? What happened? How deep did you stick me? All the natural
Right.
questions. Right.
Correct.
So I'm like, we did nothing different. However, has anything changed with you? Your prescription? It's like nothing. You were just here 3 days ago. Nothing changed. I haven't done anything. I actually feel more relaxed today and we're going through this. So, I asked her, so what did you have for breakfast today? Cause I'm at this point eliminating things in my head. What did you have
Hmm.
for breakfast today? She's like, all I had was just toast and tea. I'm like, tea, okay? What kind of tea did you have? She's like, today I just felt like it and I had a really big cup of hibiscus tea. I looked at this lady and she saw the relief and also like, are you serious? Look on my face. So she's like, what? What did I do? What did I do? I said, you had hibiscus tea. It's like, okay, yeah, it's natural, it's healthy. And it's also blood thinner. I didn't know that. Nobody ever told me. I said, yes. And you had a big helping. And she had a very healthy cup of this hibiscus tea. So again, things are not harmless.
Right.
She felt good. I'm happy for her. However, she put it in a position of panic because I thought of everything and anything under the sun. She too, but I
Right.
had to keep my composure and go through the process of elimination. So it is very important to get in front of things because you just never know. And education is very important. So I'd rather a patient not hide something. Again, another story. I had a patient who was taking activated charcoal every morning with her prescription and telling off all her doctors they were quacks, nothing works, and all this prescription is so I asked her for her prescription. She brought me the prescription. I'm like, okay, do you have any supplements that you take? Anything that the doctor doesn't know? OTC, I need to see it. So she's like, oh, that basket. And I went through the basket. And when I pulled it out, I'm like, okay, so who prescribed this one? Oh, that was a recommendation from my neighbor. And my neighbor swears by it. It does great. It filters the blood. It does all these things. I'm like, okay, cool. It's filtering your blood and all your medications too.
Hmm.
Do you understand that? It's practically neutralizing everything. And she was taking about 2 capsules every morning.
Oh,
I know, for the longest time. So again, good assessment, good, communication, and also establishing rapport. If I came in there and naturally I knew her doctors were not all quacks, right? And I knew there was something behind it. And I
right.
had to have established that rapport with her to better understand what was going on. And I wasn't chastising her for having these opinions. There were opinions, doctor or not, her opinions, but we got to the root of it. So it's important for doctors or nurse practitioners, PAs, to really listen to the patient and create an environment that the patient can be honest with you
Hmm.
about the supplements they're taking outside of what you prescribed. Because some people are genuinely scared to say something because they fear
Hmm.
being judged. They fear being called a witch or practicing, you know,
Right.
in a manner that is not seen by modern healthcare. However, everybody's just trying to do what is good for them, or at least what they think is good for them. So
Correct.
that's why I asked that question, because being open
Yes,
can
it's
like,
very, very
um,
important.
yes,
But like I said, it's important to have that relationship
yeah.
with your doctor where it becomes a friendship.
Mm.
It really should over time.
Yeah, it really should. And the driver's seat thing, when you said it, I smiled, because that's what I say to every single patient. You're in the driver's seat, and the doctors depend on you to communicate
Yes.
so they can treat you appropriately. The doctor does not know everything. Most of them have years and years of experience, but they don't have years and years experience with you. They may be familiar with the disease process, the progression, and the treatment. However, you're unique, you're different, your genetic makeup is different. And we were just talking about this before we got on recording. A lot of this drug clinical trials that are historically known to not be inclusive.
Right.
Historically, they're working to correct that. However, it's still an issue where it was tried on a small sample of the population and it was effective for that small sample. However, we're
Hmm.
expecting to use it to treat the
Everyone.
gram. Exactly. And we're going to run into issues where we have to experiment in real time. So when we have
Hmm.
to put things on top of each other to get a similar effect, that is experimenting in real time. There's trial in real time. Absolutely. It's important that you talk to your doctor. They don't know everything. They depend on you to talk to them. They depend on you
Absolutely.
to tell them how your body feels. Let's come back to the nursing question as we continue this conversation. How much of your nursing skills or what you learned in nursing has helped you become a better practitioner today when it comes to the listening skills, the assessment, and understanding when a person presents to you?
I rely very heavily on my nursing skills. Through the years, it has just become something that I do every family function. I walk in and every family member, I do a head to toe assessment like that. I can tell if their skin color's changed, if their hair is shinier or more dull, if the whites of their eyes have changed, do their mucous membranes look but I mean head to toe, I will go around the room and in seconds I've assessed everybody physically.
Right.
And then maybe I'll see them walk to the kitchen. I'm like, "Ooh, something's going on with the hip there, the way they're walking." I catch myself doing that at the mall or whatever. I will see somebody, I'm like, "Oh, they're in so much pain." So my nursing skills, I do rely on them a lot. However, what I have come to realize is just as important is you have to rely on the person's perception of their life, not just their life, because that is just as important. So, one question that I will ask in follow up to the how much do you love yourself? The
Right.
next question I often ask is give me 3 words to describe your mother, and 3 words to describe your father, and 3 words to describe yourself. And a lot of times you'll see people trying to think, I want 3 honest words. There is no blame here. This is not picking at anyone, but your perception of your parents and your perception of yourself also give just as much information about where you're at as seeing how your gait is or your skin coloring and things like that. At least in my opinion, that's what I have found.
So we nurses, we can't escape it. We diagnose, not diagnose, sorry, doctors. We perform assessments everywhere we go. We can't help ourselves because we depend on it to catch things in a clinical setting.
Yes,
If I
yes.
walked into a patient room, they look one way and I come back in, they look different. It's like, okay, what's happening? So we heavily depend on those skills to know, okay, is this a rapid response or is this a matter of just waking you up? You turn
Right.
around. What are we doing? Sternal or rapid? it the nursing skills follows us even when we're not actively practicing. We're constantly in that position to kind of like, have you been hydrating lately? And I do that with my kids, and they're so over me. So it's like, how much
Yeah.
water did you drink today? It's like, Mom, how much water did you drink today? It's valuable, and I absolutely love it. So let's talk about how people can find you. You're not just the owner of the Tea of Life Apothecary, but you also do other things. Where can people find you for Tea of Life and also the other beautiful things that you do in the holistic and integrative space?
So I have a shop in Chillicothe, Ohio. So I'm in Southern Ohio. You can also find me online at teaoflifeapothecary.com. I also integrate with a doctor and I collaborate with her, and we have a virtual medical practice, SA Integrative Health, and that you can find that on my website as well. That is by virtual appointments. We do have some local people that come in for in-person appointments, but majority of that is online. We offer some modalities and treatments here. I do a little bit of biofield work. So that's basically working on the energy system of the body. And a lot of times that word kind of freaks people out, but what it means is your biofield is about 3 to 4 feet around you. And if there is a disruption, if you've had surgery and you have scars, if you've had an injury and you have scars, if you have a disruption in the body, if you have something going on, a chronic ailment, a lot of times it creates an energetic disturbance in that part of the body. Just by certain touch and movement, you can a lot of times help to reset that. For most people, it's short term. It's something that it has to be done consistently to kind of reset it. But we also offer that here. The doctor that I collaborate with does dry needling, acupuncture, things like that. So if you're looking for things in more of a holistic, energetic world, that would be some options as well. As far as if you're just looking for options for herbal treatments or herbal teas, I do either virtual consultations with people. You can also call in. I prefer to do those outside of shop hours just because when I speak to someone, I want to give them my full attention. I don't want to be trying to do two different things. I want you to get exactly what your end goal is. So I do prefer to do those outside of shop hours, but I offer that as well.
Okay, beautiful. Other than your virtual appointments and visits, so I have a listening audience globally. So if somebody is looking to work with you and they're not in the immediate Ohio area, so how do you go about that? So whether it's with the teaser tinctures, the virtual appointment, how is that? How do you work that out?
So a lot of times I will ask that they contact me through email at
Okay.
teaoflifeapothecary@gmail.com. I'll have them contact me through email and let me know exactly what it is that you're looking for. Are you just looking for herbal information? Are you wanting to get established in the medical practice? And then we will let you know what options as far as appointment times we have available. And then we just kind of go from there. Preferably just a small introductory, hi, these are my current medications, these are my current conditions, just to kind of give me an idea of what we're going to be focusing on and dealing with. And then I can sometimes help guide people. A lot of times people want to start with teas and they want to treat, end stage renal disease with tea. And I'm like, okay, there's a lot of reasons why we don't want to do that, but it allows me to kind of guide them what is also going to be safe for them
Mhm.
as well.
I like how you brought end-stage renal disease because whatever goes in has to be excreted. And if your kidneys are screaming for help, don't want to overwhelm it. Just a
Correct.
suggestion. That's it. Just nice little suggestions. Thank you for that information. So for anybody listening, if you did not catch everything in the conversation, do not worry. We'll make sure all of that information is in the show notes. So you can just click right in to get you to Angel's website and even the email will be listed and we can go from there. Angel, selfishly, I like to ask my guests to leave a golden nugget or a few golden nuggets for our listening audience. What would you like somebody to walk away with this beautiful conversation you and I just had?
My biggest mission for everybody that I work with is we have been trained to give away our accountability and our responsibility for our health. So first and foremost, know at the end of the day, anyone who is handed a diagnosis of cancer, autoimmune, renal disease, heart disease, it is their diagnosis. It is their problem. It is not the doctor's problem, the hospital, the nurses. It is their problem. So that accountability and responsibility falls on them. And it is important that they do their due diligence to find out what is best for them. The other thing is self-love. You have to love yourself. And some of the best ways to do that is when you get up in the morning. And this is what I always start all of my customers and my clients out with. When you get up in the morning, you're going to sit on the side of the bed and you're going to list 3 to 5 things that you love about yourself. And in the beginning, that's going to be very hard, but that's what you're going to do every day. Then when you're in the bathroom, washing your face, brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, whatever it is that you're doing, look in the mirror and you want eye to eye contact. Don't look at the top of your head or your shoulders or your nose, pupil to pupil contact in that mirror. And you're going to say, I see you and I love you. And you will be surprised how hard that is to say to yourself. But you do that 7 to 10 times and you keep doing that. And the third thing is talk to yourself as if you were a 3 to 5-year-old child. If you make a mistake, no yelling, no screaming, no harsh words. Okay, that didn't work out. Let's try again. Speak as if you were to one of your children or to a neighbor's child. Speak gently, compassionately, and lovingly. If you make a mistake and you get harsh, you go back and apologize to yourself. And a lot of times what you will find is your body relaxes and it's like, oh, okay, it's safe. It's okay. So those are the important things. And always do what you feel to be right for yourself. Those would be my nuggets.
Love it. Love it. And you can start today. You don't have to buy anything to do it.
Correct.
Hello? You can start this very second. You listen to it. You go in the mirror, in your bathroom, or wherever it's located, in your car, bicycle, wherever. Use a mirror. Find a mirror. It's so easy, but so hard at the same time. We're harder on ourselves for some reason. I don't know why that is. Some people, not me. We're really harsh. We're harsh on ourselves. And I had to unlearn this. And it wasn't an easy thing to unlearn, but it's absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. It makes you handle yourself very differently because the world will break you down. The world is here to do that. So the world does not need your help in breaking you down. You have to be there for yourself to pick yourself back up constantly. And you can't do that if you don't love yourself. So self-love, I've learned a number of things. And some of those practices I don't do, but you best believe it. Angel said it, I'm doing it. So I'm going to integrate a lot of that into my routine already. Thank you so much, Angel. I'm very appreciative and I'm grateful that you made time to be here today and to
Thank
share.
you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you to share the beautiful things you've learned. And for every nursing student out there, if I'm not your professor, I'm still your professor. Learn all you can learn. There's so much you can do out in the world. There's so much more than conventional, traditional medicine, all complementary of one another, all complementary. So you depend on you, your society depends on you, your family depends on you, the world depends on you. So we need you guys out here. Angel is an example. She's doing her thing, and I am so proud of you. Nursing is so proud of you, Angel. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Unshelling Medicine Podcast. If you want to stay up to date with the latest episodes, make sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to leave us a review. Follow us on social media at Altruistic Scribe on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We share additional tips, updates, and health-related content that you won't want to miss. Have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes? Reach out to us at altruisticscribeco.com. We're always eager to hear from our listeners and tackle the health topics that matter most to you. Until next time, stay healthy and take care.